Guten Tag! Fine Celts and non-Celts alike of this fine thing I am continuing to call being alive. For now, I am Ancient Swan. And as is my new habit, let's not waste time shooting the shit and let's just dive right in instead. I have no patience. And if the average video's viewer retention is anything to go by, neither do a significant amount of you lot. This, ladies and gents, is Glauberg. Glauberg is the site of a Celtic hill fort and at one time was a centre of supra-regional importance. The history of Glauberg, nestled in Germany's Hesse region, stretches back to around 4500 BC during the early Neolithic period, when this hilltop plateau was first settled by the Rossen culture. This period marked the beginnings of settled agricultural communities in the area. People lived in small villages and began farming, which laid the groundwork for future civilizations. Imagine these early farmers busting their asses to grow crops while dodging each other's bad breath and all the wild animals of the day, including lions. Yes, lions. Did you know lions once existed in Europe too? No? Well, now you do. Imagine not being able to let your daughter go out at night, not because of the local incels which didn't exist yet, but because of the local lions which totally did. Stone Age Europe was a scary place, but the people of Glauberg had it all under control. Following the Rossen culture, in around 4000 BC, it is believed that the hill was fortified for the first time. Settlement continued here, unbroken for almost 5,000 years. Fast forward to the early Iron Age, around the 5th century BCE, Glauberg became a significant site for the Celts, and for a brief period Glauberg was the seat of an early Celtic prince, and it is believed this is when the hillfort's fortifications were further expanded on. These defensive structures indicate that Glauberg was an extremely important regional centre for trade, governance and military operations. The strategic location of Glauberg, overlooking fertile lands and important trade routes, further underscores its importance in the early Iron Age. Glauberg was temporarily abandoned during the Roman occupation of Germany, perhaps due to its close proximity, only 5 kilometres from the Roman-German border. This may have been a bit too close for comfort for the residents of Glauberg, who likely retreated a bit further away from the smelly Romans and their giant murder-raping armies. Despite this, the people eventually returned. After the fall of Rome, the Alemanni tribe returned and reoccupied the hill fort at some point around the 5th century AD. And as the seat of a new Alemanni king, Glauberg once again became a major regional centre. Glauberg was then a site of Frankish importance from the 7th to 9th centuries AD, as its power continued to grow and its fortifications were further improved and built upon. Later still, during the medieval period, the Duchy of Swabia fell under control of the wealthy Hohenstaufen dynasty, and Glauberg was incorporated into the Staufer system of castles. Its growth as an urban centre continued, and its fortifications were further improved upon. It was at this time that the dynasty erected a tower-like castle on the plateau's edge. The archway remains of this still survive today, as well as the medieval foundations of walls and wells. However, despite these renewed fortifications, Glauberg was attacked and defeated in the mid-13th century. The castle was destroyed and its people evicted, and at this, almost 6,000 years of occupation came to a final end. 6,000 years, and now, nothing. Many archaeological digs have been carried out at Glauberg. The most remarkable find might be the Celtic Prince, an impressively preserved sandstone statue of a warrior prince. Unearthed in the early 1990s, this statue features intricate details including a torque, which is a kind of neck ring, and a distinctive leaf crown, symbolizing the power and prestige of the Celtic tribes. Because nothing says I'm important like a fancy necklace and a leafy hat. Seriously though, just look at that hat. Are we even sure it's a hat? Maybe this guy just had gigantic plug ears, or maybe it was a hat. But still, if you saw this guy running at you with a sword and this around his head, you'd definitely still take a second out to wet yourself laughing, right? And that's when he'd stick you with his blade. Maybe that's what the hat was for, to distract you with comedy before he cuts your guts and turns you inside out. Never underestimate the tricky fierceness of a warrior wearing a clown suit. And also, Why did we stop wearing torques? I like torques. Our ancestors wore these for thousands of years, all the way back into the Stone Age and further, and now we wear these pissy, easily breakable chains. I think we should all go back to torques. That's just my 5 cents. Alongside the statue, archaeologists discovered a richly furnished burial mound. This burial chamber contained the remains of the prince and was packed with lavish grave goods, such as booze and weapons, highlighting the social status and wealth of the interred individual, and the age-long desire to get absolutely shit-faced before storming into battle. These finds provide crucial insights into the social hierarchy, cultural practices, and artistic achievements of early Celtic society. But perhaps my favourite of all, after Plugier's the Prince, of course, is the 3,000-year-old jug, which still contained its owner's mead. I mean, I'm sure it was a bit dirty and probably not drinkable, but don't you just want to try it anyway? I wonder what the hangover would be like. The site's significance is not limited to its archaeological finds. The artifacts and architectural remains unearthed at Glauberg offer a glimpse into the daily lives, religious practices, and artistic expressions of the Celts. The impressive craftsmanship of the statue and grave goods reflects the high level of skill and artistry possessed by these ancient people. And so, although almost nothing of Glauberg remains, what does remain stands as a testament to 5,000 years of human history and to a rich cultural heritage of the Celtic world, with a history rooted in the Stone Age and flourishing during the early Iron Age. Glauberg will forever be a key location for understanding the early history of Europe. And then I came along, as I so often do, and made this map, because that's what I do. I make maps like this one, because I love it. It was made by mixing real-world satellite height maps like this with this archaeological dig map. The light blue lines are the ditches and trenches dug out by ancient peoples, and the darker blue lines are the walls and ramparts they used to keep the smelly non-Celts out. Now, before we get into the map information, I am ever so politely reminded by my heathen, pagan, non-Celtic wife that if you don't subscribe, she'll give me such a momentous slap around the head that she'll make Prince up there look like a waste of sandstone, and I'd rather she didn't do that. I'm very allergic to pain. Anyway, here's the map info, because I assume that's what you're asking for. Theme, European. Climate, -5 to 33 degrees Celsius. Latitude, northern, aren't they all? Buildable area, 68%. Outside connections, roads, rail, sea, air, power. Natural resources, wheat, 87.7 square kilometres. Forest, 230 kilotons, or 140 kilotons. Oil, 85.4 kilotons. Terrain, lots of flat land and also many small to medium hills. And that's it, folks, for Glauberg. Don't forget to follow the link in the description below if you want to play this map. It will make me happy if you do. In the meantime, I'm off like beef stroganoff, because I got another map to make. Stay tuned if you want to see what that looks like. Peace, love and Glauberg. Tschüss!